of financial experts, making sure you win in every market. Your financial partners, Don and Gino.
We have such an exciting show for you today on the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance. Actually, we always have an exciting show for you. Otherwise, we would not show up every Thursday from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Seriously. No, we thank you for joining us every week. Now, for over 2.5 years, they've allowed us to be on the air, sharing what you need to know, want to know, and have to know about real estate and finance to help guide you to personal financial wellness. And that was our goal since day one. And nobody better, and Gina, I'm sure you agree, because I'm always excited to have Neal join our show. Neal Weichel with RE/MAX, #1 real estate agent in Santa Clarita since 1999, #1 the RE/MAX since 1994. Somebody that kind of knows what he's talking about. And Neal, I appreciate you taking time out of your obviously busy day
Sure.
to be #1. I mean, you are Mr. Time Blocked. So thank you for time blocking between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. today for us.
Happy to do it.
Neal's going to be speaking in front of, basically we call it the State of the Union for all the real estate agents. We all go and listen to Neal give basically a recap of what's going on in 2013. And also what I love about Neal is he's going to give us his gut opinion based on going on 23 years experience now on what he feels the market's going to do in 2014. So,
Don, let me jump on that for a second. It's
Okay.
not just the 23 years, Neal, because there's a lot of real estate agents that have been in for 20, 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Don and I always talk about the volume of transactions that you do.
Right.
And how important that is
Yeah,
in
good point.
forming the experience. You know, I know loan officers have been in it for 10, 11 years. They don't do the volume in their
Done in
whole
1 year.
career that we do in 1 year. And so that gives you the experience because you've seen it all. You've seen so many different things as the volume.
Yeah, and I guess I'm a little reluctant to talk about that just because it sounds a little bit braggy, and I don't want to sound that way, but your point is super well taken, because when you have 10, 12, 15, 20 listings at a time, 10, 12, 15 escrows at a time, and you're talking to lenders and escrow people and buyers and agents representing buyers or listing agents, and you're gathering all this information. They're all giving you feedback pretty much from when you put on your headset and start making phone calls at 8 in the morning until whenever you end that day. It's just a whole bunch of information you're not going to get out of a Twitter feed or an LA Times business section or something like that. It's now information. It's see and touch and hear and feel and smell and really kind of get a gauge for what's going on. And when you have a year that's changed the way this one has so dramatically, it really, really is important to gather that, that gut level data, if you will, to share it with your sellers. Hey, this market isn't doing what it was doing in April, so we need to adjust accordingly. To tell your buyers, hey, let's take a little bit more time. Don't worry. I have a buyer right now, side story. We wrote an offer last week. Now think about this. Last week on a home. And I've been advising him based on the condition of the home and some stuff that we wanted to do. Let's take our time. Let's get this information before we respond to the counteroffer. Okay? You would never have done that in April. You wouldn't have waited a week to respond to a counter. You'd have lost the home, right? Of course. So these are the kinds of things we can chat about today, and what do they mean as we enter 2014? Because I think there's going to be some interesting things that happen in 2014, and I think it's going to be a very split market, just like it is now, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. So what does that mean if you own an expensive home, or you want to buy a less expensive home, or you're thinking about moving up, which is the key to 2014, by the way, little spoiler alert. What does all that mean? So we'll talk about it.
Yeah, in fact, so let's talk a little bit about this year. We grazed on it, and
Right.
we talked about it last time you were on the show. It was the wild, wild west. It was crazy. If so many homes were being purchased unseen by investors. It was wild.
Multiple offers, challenges, frustrations.
Lots of frustration. So that resulted in 22% appreciation.
Right.
Then in the last few months, we've seen a shift. Let's talk about that shift for a second.
All right, well, let's talk about this year. Let's just wrap it up as neatly as we can. So we enter into January. We've got, about 300 homes for sale, and most of us think it's going to be a relatively steady year. Now, those of us that sell a lot of homes knew, because this really started last August, September. The inventory, see, that's why it's live. We can make a mistake. The inventory last year went down, as you know, pretty much from the middle of the year on. And we all know, supply and demand business, when inventory goes down, that usually prices rise. But what was happening last year that was very interesting, it's not like there was that many buyers. It's just that there was so few homes. So they started to feel that. Buyers are very intuitive. They know what's going on out there. And so they became more willing for the first time in years and years and years to pay more than the last one had sold for. And the only way listing agents like me could sell those homes was to do it with no appraisal contingency. So we'd push a little, and the buyer would accept it. Okay, I'll buy the home with no appraisal contingency. Now that started a year ago, okay, maybe even more than a year ago. It was really August of 2012. So when we came into 2013, we felt pretty confident it was going to be a pretty steady year. What we didn't know is that as we went into spring, the inventory never got a chance to build because every time we put something on the market, snap, it was gone, and gone at increasingly higher prices. Now, get to May, we've had about 4 or 5 months in a row of some pretty strong stuff, and agents like me that list a fair amount of property, we're feeling pretty good about ourselves, feeling pretty good that that we can get whatever our sellers want. Hire me, Mr. Seller. I'll do better than that last one and give you a nice smooth escrow. And I did it, and without one exception, I did it until we got to June. Now, all of a sudden, it was like somebody turned the spigot off. And it was especially apparent in the upper price ranges, right? The 5, the 6, the 7, especially the 8, the 9, the $1 million home. All of a sudden, and this is how you know, traffic goes down. Phone calls from other agents go down. Views online go down. It's Sunday afternoon. Your phone hasn't rung for 3 hours, okay? That's something you're not going to read in the LA Times, but let me tell you, that's real when you're talking about gauging changes in a market. You go to a network meeting with other top agents. You're sharing your experiences. Wow, no one's looked at your $800,000 home either? I guess this is something that's really happening. So when you came to June, as you well know, we had a major increase in interest rates.
Oh,
so
we looked that up.
We did?
Oh, yes, we did.
Fastest in history.
And what happens is, and what became really apparent to me as we went through the summer is, this is a market, okay, you can have a market without a buyer, right? So if everything stops and starts with the buyer, and it does, we forget that sometimes, all the buyers were realizing the market was slowing down, it was costing them more to afford the home that they could buy a couple months before, and instead of the way it was 8 years ago, when buyers just bought because they were motivated by appreciation, all of a sudden we became really aware, if we were paying attention, that this is a market driven by affordability. Okay, it's not driven by greed, and I'm going to buy that home for $450 because in 6 months it's going to be worth $500. Buyers didn't really feel that, especially as we got into the summer. What they felt
they
was
just went through some. We went through a lot of hardship for a while. So that euphoria of being a speculator, as you're saying, basically, I can buy a home at this. I know it's going to be worth this down the road. I'm going to make this money on it. Through all the hardships, a lot of us have either been through ourselves, or our family members been through, or somebody we know. I think it's made people rethink that philosophy of affordability.
Well, if it didn't, they weren't paying attention. You're exactly right, Don. So that's important for, sometimes we get caught up, sellers get caught up, listing agents get, everybody gets caught up. Wow, we put it on the market, it sold in 4 days, it sold with 8 offers. That's not normal. Okay, that's not the norm in real estate. So what we're back to really is a market that's more normal. So as we come to the end of the year, it's clear that this is what's happened. The under $400,000 market is still super strong because 80% of our buyers buy for $450,000 and under. Okay, that's a fact. That's a statistical fact. That's where the buyers are. If you've got a $600,000, $700,000, $900,000 home, if you're banking that the value of your home is going to naturally go up next year the way it did this year, I would rethink that strategy very strongly because I see no sign of that happening.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. I mean, I can't.
Nice recap.
Well, the last 3 days.
Funny, I'm watching us, Gino. Sorry to cut you out. We're just sitting there listening. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah. Well, and the last 3 days I've had exactly that same conversation going, it's kind of nice. It actually feels like we're having a season. Yeah. We're going back to a more traditional market where it's going to be a little seasonal. There's going to be a little lull. People are talking about the holidays already. We've had plenty of conversations. We took our Christmas pictures yesterday. So it feels seasonal. And last year we didn't have a season.
We went right through. Yeah, we went straight through. Yeah, I think I sold 21 homes last December, which, that's not your typical big home selling month. That sounds like an April, not a December.
It sounds like a good Christmas, Neal.
It was fine. So anyway, to recap this year, if it taught us anything, it taught us don't take anything for granted, because as soon as you think you're in a red hot market and you can just name your own price and get it, the world of real estate will humble you and teach you that that's just not true. And you have to really, really pay attention. Where are the buyers? What are they looking for? If you know there's a hole in the market as a listing agent, fine, go ahead and push the price. But if there's not, if there's already 3 or 4 homes that are just like the one you're going to put on the market, you better be price sensitive, otherwise you're going to sit.
All right, and to clarify, I love where you're going, is you have to know your market. Just going with the trends is going to not allow you to help your seller or buyer be successful, because there's both sides. Absolutely.
And let's be clear. If you've got a $350,000 townhome in Valencia, woohoo, okay? there's not enough of those for the amount of buyers that are still out there. But if you've got a $650,000 home in Saugus, which would have flown out the door in 7 days back in April or May, watch out, because there's 15 of those available. Okay? You just have to know where are the holes, Where can you push? Where do you got to be a little bit more? And that's what a great real estate agent does. Obviously, that's our job, right? Okay.
Well, we have a great real estate agent with us today, sharing some great information. Mr. Neal Weichel with RE/MAX, one of the top real estate agents in the nation, going to share with us a little bit more about who's buying, who's not buying, and why. His crystal ball on 2014 and other great information right here on the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHCS. You're not going to want to miss this next half hour.